Hey guys, this is Zui, and if you are having trouble with macros or keybinds, then this is the video that is going to turn you into a god. Using these tips, I managed to grow over 1,000 rating over the span of one expansion. There's some really good stuff in here, so make sure you tune into the end. As always, if you enjoy this video, please drop a like and a sub. And if you have any requests for content, drop them below in the comments. This is the third video that I've been requested and I've now made. So guys, I am listening to you and I am making the content that you guys want. So in today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to set up your macros and your keybinds so that when Shadowlands Season 1 hits, you can get that coveted 2400 achievement and the mount to go along with it. So the first thing that we're going to talk about in this video is keybinds. If you're not using keybinds already, the alternative to that is that you're a clicker. Clicking is not feasible at high ratings, simply because it takes way too long to react and you miss what's happening within the game. If you are a clicker, in short, it's time to stop clicking. This video is perfect for you. In terms of setting up your keybinds, there's a few ways you can do this. The first is going through the stock WoW UI. You can access this by pressing escape until your menu opens, going to keybindings, and then clicking on Blizzard's new feature, which is quick keybind mode. You can then hover over an ability and press whatever keybind you want to use for that ability, hit OK, and then OK again to save. The second option and what most people use is an add-on called Bartender. This can be downloaded from WoWup or Overwolf. To access the Bartender keybinding mode, simply type /BT and then hit keybindings up top. It works the same way as a stock WoW interface, however Bartender is great because it allows you to change the size, position, opacity, and click status of your bars. I highly recommend downloading this and not using the stock WoW option. PvP and PvE keybinds are very similar in the way that they work. In PvP, however, we tend to have more reactionary stuff on single letter keybinds, whereas PvE, it's not so important. In PvE, you generally know when damage is coming, so you don't need to be able to react in a split second like you do in PvP. The formula to optimal keybinds if you do not have a gaming mouse is this. Your main damage rotation should be on keybinds 1 to 6 or 1 to 5 if you have tiny hands. You should have reactionary abilities on single letter keybinds. For example, I have Shadow Word Death on R as there are times where I'll need to quickly press it to CC or to execute. You'll also want to keep defensives on single letter keybinds where possible. You'll want to keep 1 to 2 minute CDs on shift modifiers, as shift is the easiest modifier to hit, and then anything above 3 to 5 minutes on control modifiers. Generally, you will reserve your alt key for party target macros or arena enemy target macros. The reason for this is priority. Having your damage on 1 to 6 is ergonomically best for your hands. The less time your fingers spent bending and crimping, the healthier joints will stay long term. You laugh now, but wait until you're 50 and your hands are stuck in the control +2 position. Single letter keybinds can be hit the fastest, so the highest priority spells should remain on those binds. Then, as priority decreases and cooldown increases, you will start moving to the least accessible modifiers, which will be control and then alt. For those with a gaming mouse such as the RAZER NAGA, optimal keybinds are very different. You may not have thought of this, but it's actually so blindingly obvious when I say it, you'll think, why didn't I think of that? Instead of having your abilities bound to your mouse, bind modifiers. By having shift, control, alt, right shift, right control, and right alt bound to your mouse, you can literally play the game by pressing the modifiers on your mouse and then just using 1 to 6 and the immediately surrounding buttons to play the game. By having those 6 buttons bound to modifiers and only using the 1 to 6 keys, you can create 36 keybinds alone. This should be enough for just about anyone to press every ability they have. You can then free up your keyboard for arena target macros and party target macros, which I'll touch on in a sec. With all of that in mind, it is time to move on to macros. Macros can be used in many ways. You can use them for targeting, you can use them for spells, you can use them for absolute modifiers. There's a million things you can do with macros. So I'm going to go through all that now with you. For simplicity, I'm just going to create a paste bin. I'm going to put all these macros in that paste bin, and that's going to be down in the comments. First, I want to touch on targeting macros, as these are the most important by far, and are probably the most simple. For party target macros, it's simply going to be /tar party 1 and /tar party 2 and 3, so on and so forth. It's very simple how it works. If you look at your raid frames, the first person you see is party 1, the second person you see is party 2, and the third is party 3. Ensure that your group is sorted by role for this to work by going to System, Interface, Raid Profiles, and then clicking where it says to sort by, and then select the role. Next, we'll talk about arena target macros. Similar to party macros, you'll be using /tar arena 1, /tar arena 2, and /tar arena 3. In the same fashion, the numbers are relative to their position on Gladius. Now, the next few tips that I'm going to share with you were common knowledge about 10 years ago, but I'm not sure if they are anymore. The first are absolute macros. An absolute macro is one that essentially means you will not cancel aura by pressing it again. This is mainly used for defensives like Dispersion, where the effect can be cancelled by spamming the button too many times. It basically involves adding an exclamation mark before the spell so that no matter how many times you spam it, it will not cancel the ability. This means you will have to bind a cancel aura to another spell so that if you did want to quickly cancel it, you could. These macros are also helpful for spells that bring up a radius circle, such as Master Spell, Flame Strike, Death and Decay, so on and so forth. It will stop the ability from cancelling itself automatically and always keep that circle there. Next, I want to talk about focus macros. As a disclaimer, I know a lot of people bind their silencers to arena 1, 2, and 3, and to be honest, it's probably more effective than just a focus macro. But I don't do that, and by the time this became a thing, I'd already played the game for 10 years and I was so stuck in my ways. You guys should consider using arena 1, 2, and 3 silence macros. Focus macros are simple. You just need to put in square brackets target equals focus in between the cast and the ability name, and it will cast at your focus target. This means you won't actually have to have the target selected for it to be cast on them. It's also worthwhile to note that you can change your focus target by right-clicking on the name in Gladius. Next, I want to talk about help harm macros. This is essentially a method of compiling spells and saving keybinds. It's done by using harm in square brackets, followed by the spell, followed by a semicolon, and then help in square brackets. For example, in my disc spec, I have an offensive dispel and an offensive dispel. By using help harm, I can put both of them in the same macro and keybind. When I target a friendly player, I can purify them, and when targeting an enemy player, I can dispel them. Harm must always come first, followed by help. Some other examples that you may like to try would be Polymorph and Decurse, Hex and Dispel, or Intervene and Charge. Next up is @player macros. Now, when dealing with macros, there are a few ways to target. @target would be your target, @focus would be your focus, and @player would be yourself. This is especially good when you have area of effect abilities that you want to cast on yourself very quickly. This saves you a click by not having to click on the location or use a Mouseover macro. As you can see here with my power word barrier, I have two keybinds. One is so that I can use the ability on my party members, and the second is an @player macro that drops on myself immediately. This is especially helpful when I'm getting bursted and need to react as fast as possible. The next one, which is awesome for PvE, but I don't like so much for PvP, is Mouseover macros. By using a Mouseover macro, you can simply hover over a portrait or a raid frame, press the ability, and it will cast on the person. This macro is complicated, so just grab it from the paste bin in the comments below. And finally, cursor macros. Cursor macros sound similar to Mouseover macros, but are very different. Cursor macros, rather than casting on a mouse over a portrait, will cast directly wherever your cursor is on the screen. Similar to the @player macro, you'd use this for AoE abilities. Simply add in square brackets @cursor between the /cast and the spell to make it cast at your cursor. So that is all I have time for today, guys. If you found this helpful, please drop a like and a sub. As always, if you have any questions or content requests, please drop them below in the comments, and I will see you next time.